The ocean is a keeper of secrets. Its depths hide forgotten cities, ghost ships, and discoveries that baffle scientists. Imagine a majestic city that vanished without a trace. Two locomotives lost at the bottom of the Atlantic. A giant eyeball washed ashore. What if something rests in the water that defies our rational understanding of the world? Artifacts that seem to defy the laws of time. Objects whose origins raise more questions than answers. Today, we will descend into the depths of the ocean to see the creepiest and most mysterious discoveries found on the seabed. Are you ready for a journey into the abyss? Then buckle up. It will be scary, but insanely interesting. The sunken city of Thonis/Heracleion in Egypt. Deep beneath the waters of the Mediterranean Sea lies a sunken city, whose name remained only in ancient chronicles for a long time. Thonis/Heracleion, once a majestic center of trade, now just ghostly ruins at the bottom of the ocean. For a long time, it was believed that Thonis and Heracleion were two different cities, but it turned out that it is one place, known to the Egyptians as Thonis, and to the Greeks as Heracleion. Ancient historians wrote about it, but no traces had been found. It seemed the city had disappeared without a trace. Only in the year 2000 did a chance discovery change everything. Researchers were searching for Napoleon's ships but stumbled upon the ruins of an ancient city, giant statues, ruined temples, and a black granite slab with its name. All of this lay beneath a layer of silt. Thonis/Heracleion was enormous, 3 times the size of Pompeii. It was built in the 8th century BC in honor of the god Ammonius. According to legends, Paris and Helen of Troy took refuge here before the Trojan War. And historians claim that the city arose thanks to the feat of Hercules, who saved people from a flood. At its peak, Thonis was a trading hub. Its port received ships from all over the world. But in 331 BC, Alexander the Great founded the city of Alexandria. The new city became a center of science and trade, and Thonis began to decline. But the final chapter in the city's history was written not by politics, but by nature. Earthquakes, floods, and rising water levels gradually destroyed the city. At some point, it completely submerged, leaving behind only temples, statues, and wrecked ships. An underwater graveyard of warships. In the depths of Bikini Atoll lies an underwater graveyard. This is a ghost city of ships struck by the fire of the atom. On July 26, 1946, the U.S. Navy conducted an experiment intended to prove that a naval fleet could survive a nuclear attack. In the heart of the lagoon, 53 ships were positioned, from destroyers to aircraft carriers, and beneath one of them, the landing ship LSM-60, a charge with a power of 21 kilotons, was hidden. When the bomb, named Helen of Bikini, exploded, the ocean trembled. The explosion lifted 2 million tons of water, forming a giant column nearly a mile high. Underwater, a giant bubble of hot gas emerged, piercing the sea floor and leaving a crater 1,800 feet wide. The LSM-60 vanished, evaporating without a trace. The battleship Arkansas was hurled into the air and crashed to the bottom, buried by radioactive waves. The aircraft carrier Saratoga struggled for life for 7 long hours before disappearing forever into the depths. The Japanese battleship Nagato lasted the longest, 4 whole days before dissolving into the sea mist. The military hoped to recover the surviving ships, but the radiation was relentless. The rescue teams retreated. The radiation levels on board the ships exceeded the lethal dose by 20 times. The Navy tried to decontaminate the ships. They washed them with foam, water, even acid. But the more they tried, the more the contamination spread. Water, mussels, seaweed, everything around became a carrier of invisible death. Admitting defeat was difficult, but after 2 weeks, the fleet was forced to abandon the contaminated ships. 6 of them were sunk right in Bikini Lagoon. The rest were towed to Kwajalein Atoll, where many of them remain in eternal rest. But one ship, the heavy cruiser Prince Eugen, seemed to sense its fate. Damaged and soaked with radiation, it did not wait for its sentence. During towing, it began to sink and eventually chose its final resting place on its own. Ghost trains off the coast of New Jersey. Deep underwater off the coast of New Jersey lies a mystery that few know about. 2 antique steam locomotives rest on the ocean floor, like forgotten ghosts of the past. Who lost them? How did they end up there? These questions have remained unanswered for over 150 years. The unusual underwater locomotive graveyard was discovered in 1985 by researcher Paul Hepler. He was mapping the seabed using a magnetometer. But suddenly, the device detected two massive metal objects. When the divers went down, they were met with a truly surreal sight. Two locomotives, almost untouched by time, resting in the depths of the Atlantic Ocean. They turned out to be rare Planet Class 222T models, manufactured in the mid-19th century. They were experimental and became obsolete almost immediately after their release. Each of them weighed only 15 tons, half the weight of most locomotives of that time. Their light weight made them inefficient, so such locomotives quickly disappeared from the railways. But why did two of them end up at the bottom of the ocean? There is no record in any historical archive that these machines were ever lost, as if they never existed at all. One hypothesis is that the locomotives were being transported on a barge from Boston, but it got caught in a storm off the coast of Long Branch. It's possible that the machines accidentally fell overboard or, more likely, were intentionally jettisoned to save the vessel from sinking. But there is one strange detail that makes you wonder. One of the researchers once let slip. The type of engine in these locomotives was never put into production. If that's true, then we have technology that officially didn't exist. How could it have ended up in the Atlantic Ocean? Today, specialists plan to bring the locomotives to the surface. This might help uncover their mystery and shed light on 19th century construction methods. Perhaps someday these ghostly locomotives will find their place in a museum. Or they might hold something that is better left on the ocean floor. A giant eyeball. The coast of Florida. Warm sand, gentle surf. It would seem there's nothing unusual. But one morning, a resident of Pompano Beach discovered something truly eerie. At the water's edge lay a strange blue object. The man casually kicked it with his foot, but upon taking a closer look, he froze. In front of him was a giant eyeball the size of a grapefruit. It looked fresh, oozing blood, and seemed to still be watching what was happening. Without hesitation, he picked up the find, placed it in a plastic bag, and went to the police. They handed the eye over to specialists from the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission. The scientists immediately realized they were dealing with something unusual. The size of the organ ruled out most known species of marine creatures. The eye was placed in formalin and sent for analysis to a research institute in St. Petersburg. To which creature did it belong? A giant squid? A deep-sea predator? Unknown to science yet? While experts were searching for answers, local residents were making their own guesses. Some claimed it was part of an unknown sea monster. Others said the eye belonged to a creature from legends, an ancient beast dwelling in the abyss. The Baltic anomaly. Summer of 2011. The depths of the Baltic Sea revealed a mystery, which would soon captivate the minds of researchers. The Swedish team, Ocean X, was conducting search operations in the Gulf of Bothnia. While exploring the seabed, they stumbled upon something strange, a massive object of almost perfect circular shape. It resembled a huge disc with straight corridors and square indentations. But the most astonishing thing was that next to it, there was a deep 300-meter trench, as if this mysterious object had once landed, gouging the sea floor. The images quickly spread around the world. Some saw the anomaly as a sunken alien ship, while others saw it as remnants of an ancient civilization. There were theories about secret developments of the Third Reich and even fragments of the legendary Atlantis. Scientists decided to investigate the find. Divers brought up samples of the substance covering the object. Analysis showed it was basalt, a common volcanic rock, but in some samples, traces were found of metals that do not occur naturally. Those who believed in the extraterrestrial origin of the find were not quick to abandon their theories, especially after it became known that at depth, equipment was failing. Cameras refused to record, communication was lost. Even on the surface above the object, radio signals were jammed. Skeptics claimed that it's merely a rare geological formation. But if that's the case, why does the equipment continue to fail? To malfunction? Why is there no trace of vegetation on it, which covers everything on the ocean floor? There are no answers yet. But perhaps one day the mystery of the Baltic anomaly will be revealed, or it will remain another inexplicable phenomenon of the depths. Finds from the Titanic. Now we will talk about items that have absorbed the tragedy, that decades later continue to remind us of the disaster. Many of them have become symbols, mysteries, relics with incredible stories. For example, there are small children's shoes, They belonged to a child whose identity remained unknown for a long time. After the wreck, all the belongings of the deceased were supposed to be burned, but a Halifax police sergeant, Clarence Notover, couldn't bring himself to destroy these shoes. He kept them, hoping that a relative might recognize them. Later, they ended up in a maritime museum. For many years, scientists tried to determine who that child was. In 2002, it was announced that it could have been Anopanula, but DNA analysis disproved this theory. Only in 2008 was the truth finally established. The child's name was Sidney Goodwin, and his entire family perished on that fateful night. The mystery of the shoes was solved, but the chill from seeing them lingers to this day. The dead man's watch. So, they called the pocket watch that belonged to Stewart Edmund Stone. It stopped precisely at the moment the ship went under. Stone's body was found 9 days later. He was buried at sea, and his belongings were given to his widow. The watch was kept in the family for almost 100 years until it was put up for auction in 2008. They went under the hammer for $300,000. And here's a gold bracelet, adorned with diamonds. It has one name engraved on it, Amy. It was found in the 1980s, when artifacts were being recovered from the ocean floor. Among the finds were many jewels, but this particular bracelet caught attention. On board the Titanic, there were 3 women named Amy. Which one of them wore this piece of jewelry? Perhaps it was a gift, perhaps a family heirloom, but that will never be known. In the end, the bracelet was sold for a sum exceeding $2 million. The remains of the space shuttle Challenger. On the floor of the Atlantic Ocean, it was found a fragment of the shuttle Challenger, which disintegrated during liftoff in 1986. The History Channel film crew did not expect to find a space shuttle. Initially, they were searching for a plane that went missing in 1945. But fate handed them an equally tragic discovery. The Challenger disaster was the first in the history of the space shuttle program. On that fateful day, everything was going according to plan. 2 minutes into the flight, a fatal system rupture occurred, and the entire structure, including the orbiter, fuel tank, and solid rocket boosters, disintegrated. In this terrible tragedy, all 7 crew members perished. The cause was a failed booster component, which allowed a stream of gas to rush into the fuel tank of gas. However, the investigation revealed that the cause of the disaster was deeper. It was a result of a poor decision-making culture at NASA, which failed to address design flaws that were known even before the first flight. Shortly after the tragedy, search teams found numerous fragments of the Challenger, including the crew cabin. But another large fragment was found only in March 2020. Fifth, a film crew searching for the missing plane, Martin PBM Mariner, which disappeared in 1945, accidentally stumbled upon an unexpected object, a fragment of the shuttle's thermal protection. At first, no one thought it could be part of the Challenger. But soon after further investigations, NASA confirmed that it was indeed a fragment of the spacecraft. So far, NASA has not decided what to do with this fragment, despite the fact that all shuttle debris belongs to the agency. This discovery raises new questions about how much more the ocean is hiding. And although today the probability of rocket debris falling to Earth is 10%, in the next 10 years, nothing can stop the search for new mysteries resting in the depths of the ocean. An underwater city off the coast of Japan, in the spring of 1985. A scuba diving instructor, Kihachiro Arataki, dove into the waters surrounding a small Japanese island, Janaguni. He expected to find only natural remnants, but his gaze stopped on something much more astonishing. At a depth of about 15 meters, a huge stone plateau unfolded before him. Smooth platforms adorned with patterns seemed to be carved by hand. Wide terraces and stairs descending downward created the impression that you were looking at a genuine part of an ancient city. The local waters concealed not just natural formations, but possibly the remnants of a lost civilization. A cliff with a vertical wall descended into the dark depths to 27 meters. Arataki shared his discovery with Professor Masaki Kimura, a specialist in marine geology. And despite the skepticism of his colleagues, Kimura began his research. With each dive, his convictions grew stronger. He claimed that before him lay the ruins of an ancient city, platforms, castles, monuments, and even a stadium. All of this formed a complex architectural ensemble, carved directly from the rock. Findings such as tunnels, staircases, and even pools seemed too complex for natural formations. The professor published his findings despite criticism from the scientific community. In his eyes, these were traces of human work, not natural formations. And he was convinced that the city was built more than 5,000 years ago. Quite possibly during a time when this area was part of the mainland. Megalithic structures, similar to those found in other parts of the world, from Stonehenge to Machu Picchu, provided additional arguments in favor of his theory. The underwater discoveries became not only an archaeological sensation, but also a key to unraveling a great and vanished civilization. According to Kimura, a large part of the city could have been destroyed by a catastrophe, such as a giant tsunami that engulfed the islands, erasing traces of human activity. All that remains is hidden in the depths of the ocean, where the mysterious silence protects them from prying eyes. Well, that's all from me, dear friends. I hope that you had a good time with me. Like, subscribe, and stay tuned for new videos. They will appear on the channel very soon. Bye.